Hi guys, I wanted to make a video to show you the third grade 2022 STAAR redesign reading practice test that is on the Cambium and the TEA website for you to look at with your students, for you to have your students practice. My name is Carlin Laborio, and I am with Teaching RLA with Carlin Laborio. Be sure to check out my other YouTube videos. I have them organized by playlists. So this one will be with all of the online testing and online accommodations. I also have other playlists that talk about how to teach extended constructed response to students. So check those out as well. So I ended up putting all the accommodations on this one to show you what the content language supports look like, or the content clarifiers. I also put where it will read you the questions, but I don't like it. There's two settings when you go on there. One is auto, which is the one at the top, and it'll say text to speech auto. Don't click on that one, because that one, it'll just automatically read it without the student having to click anything. And I prefer the one that they control, which you'll see towards the bottom of the accommodations. It'll just say text to speech. The other thing I clicked was the content clarifiers, and I also clicked the spelling assistance because I wanted to see what it looked like when you get to a short constructed response or when you get to the extended constructed response. So like I said, this is third grade, and I'm going to kind of walk you through what the whole test looks like. So it kind of, if you've ever used Eduphoria, it kind of looks similar to Eduphoria. And I'll try to point out some of the similarities and differences. So over here is the passage, and you can see that certain words have boxes around them. So those are for your students that get content clarifiers or content language supports. When they click on the word, it'll give them a simplified vocabulary word. And sometimes it also gives them a picture. So magic trick gives them a visual. This is great for ESL students, bilingual students, or students that are SPED or 504, dyslexic, for example. Um, so you'll see those throughout the passage, but you will also see those throughout the questions. So here's a typical vocabulary question. What is the meaning? Which meaning of the word relaxing is used in paragraph 5? So here it is. Here's paragraph 5. And if they click on that, what I love about this is it gives them the sentence in the passage. Not only that, if they get the questions read to them, they can click on this button and it'll read the sentence from the passage.
That leaves less time for other chores and relaxing.
And then when they go to click on to have this question read to them, it will, let me see something. So if you click, okay, so this is something that I'm not a big fan of, and this is why it's really up to you whether you want to put it on the auto or whether you want them to click. But if you put it where it's not auto, you're going to have to teach them how to do this. So they would click here, just like they would for the highlighting, and they would click speak question. And then speak option is to speak the choices. So let's try that and see what happens.
Read this dictionary entry. Relaxing, verb. 1. Becoming less worried, tight, or stiff. 2. Spending time doing something enjoyable. 3. Allowing your attention to become weaker. 4. To lessen the force of. Which meaning of the word relaxing is used in paragraph 5? Option A. Definition 1.
Okay, so it seems like it basically reads the whole question and all the answer choices.
Option C. Definition 3. Option D. Definition 4.
And then I think that you use this one to speak. Let's try this. Okay, speak option, and then you would click, let's say you click on this one.
Option B. Definition 2.
And that's interesting how it just did you notice how it just told me it kinda matches the definition for you? So there's a lot of cool things that if you play around with this, you can see what it can do for your students that have content clarifiers. It's pretty neat. Okay, so by the way, if you were gonna highlight, your student would need to highlight the word and then come over here and they would click highlight selection and then they would pick their color. So that's how they highlight. There's also sticky notes, flag the question, reset the highlighting, and strike through. So if they click on strike through, they would, let's say they know it's not A, they could click on that and it would strike through that. And then they can click it again. I think they can click reset, or I guess they would have to click strike through and then they would have to click it again to take it off. I don't know, you have to play around with this. I'm not an expert on it. But anyway, so as you can see, this is something that they definitely need to be trained on. So this would be question 2. And then if you go through this, you can see this is the hot text. And if they click on this, it'll read them. So it says, which sentence from paragraph 6 and 7 shows that it is worth taking time to teach children to cook?
Teaching children to cook is a good way to use time.
Okay, so it's trying to simplify the sentence. Okay, so even in the answer choices, it'll give them visuals and simplified vocabulary. So I really encourage you to go in here and practice and check it out. Positive, good. So you can see that's a simplified word for that. I love how it simplifies it. Okay. So then author's claim. So make sure, I think it's also good to pay attention to the wording in the questions. You'll notice that a lot of the questions use the vocabulary straight from the TEKS, but there are a few words that you might not have seen on previous STAAR tests. So I think that's a good idea to look at those question stems. And then if you click next, it'll say, do you want to move on? You haven't answered the questions yet. I'm going to say yes, just so I can show you. This would be the next passage. And then see what it says for suggest, show. Okay, that's neat. And then if we go through, I'm going to skip through these to get to the SCR question. So 3rd grade, how do the speaker's feelings change in lines 17 through 28 of the poem Lost Treasure? And if they click on this and they have content clarifiers, look what happens. And they can listen to this part of the poem, which is amazing because, as you know, it does not read the students the passage. But if they get content clarifiers and there's a question about that part of the passage, it will read it to them, which I think is amazing. I'm not going to click on it, but I think that's really cool. And then I want to show you, since I enabled spell check, what that would look like. So if I was going to say the speakers, I'm trying to spell it wrong on purpose. So let's say this is what the student wrote. If they don't click the spell check button, it doesn't tell them that that word is spelled wrong. So you have to teach them to actually click on that button. And then they have to see, okay, this word is spelled wrong. And then they click on it. And they have to select the one that they think is the right one. And then they have to push the spell check button again. And now they can type. So I feel like that's a little bit of a process that they're going to need to be taught. And they can do it throughout as they're writing, or they can wait till they get to the end and then they can do the spell check. So, however you want to teach them how to do that. And you can see that is the only extra button that we didn't have when it was not on spell check. So it just has that extra spell check button. And I did not see a choice when you go into the accommodations. It did not have the choice for using the microphone. But I have heard that it will be on this toolbar. So that's the only thing that I don't see that embedded within this. So I'm not totally sure how they would, for those students that have speech to text, and they're able to use the microphone. I think there will be a button here, but I'm not totally sure. But spell check, they can definitely practice. And then, so it'll show a check when they've tried to answer it. Okay, so then let's look at the rest of the test. So then you will see select 2 correct answers, central idea, conclusion. Let me see what the chart is. Okay, so it shows you, that's neat. Okay, so 27. It seems like number 27 on all the different grade levels is the ECR. So that might be the same as the real one. I'm not totally sure about that. So read the article from seed to pumpkin to seed. Based on the information in the article, write a response to the following. Explain how bees and pumpkins are beneficial to one another. So if they click speak question, it will read it to them. Also, what I like about content clarifiers is it simplifies the ECR question. So if they didn't know what beneficial means, they click here and they can listen to this.
Bees help pumpkins and how pumpkins help bees.
So that really simplifies the question. I love that. And then down here, you'll see it has the same way the SCR looked. It has that spell check button since I enabled that. And so that would work the same way. And they have the passage over here. And in other videos, I've talked about this, but just to make sure that you know, they have the sticky note, which goes with each question that they can type notes if they want to, or text evidence. And then they can do save and close, and it'll save it and then get it out of the way. They also have a notepad which stays with the whole section, so it's not associated with each question. And that one, they could do their jots, for example, what the passage is about, and so once they would type on it, they could click save and close. And then if they went to another question, they could click notepad and it's there. Whereas when they use sticky note, it only goes with that particular question. So hope that makes sense. There's also a line reader. Make sure you check out the dictionary. So this is what they used Webster's dictionary, but let's say they typed the word, let's say they didn't know the word chart and they wanted to know what that meant. And then they have to actually click on it. So, and one thing is that they can click the speaker even if they don't get the questions read to them, and it will say the word out loud, which could be a distraction. So it might be a good idea to have all kids either mute the microphone or plug in headphones but not use them, just so you don't have kids clicking on that. But it does not read the definitions to the student, but it does give them definitions. And I feel like this is pretty complex for a third grader. So this is something you might want to start using or showing them. I did notice that sometimes it was giving us synonyms. I don't know where I saw that, but oh, down here. So I don't know. There was a word I typed in when I was playing around with it, and it did give some synonyms. Okay, so then if we go to number 27, we already looked at the ECR. And then if you click next, It's going to go into revising questions for 3rd grade. And there's 4 of those. So combining sentences. I like how it gives them the sentences and they can listen to it. Let's see. Okay, so for revising, I teach 4th grade, so that's why I know this, but 3rd grade teachers, you might not know this, that the revising passage does get read to your oral admin students. So they can click speak passage and it will read them the whole revising passage if they click here.
Read the selection and choose the best answer to each question. Mallory read about a fun charity event.
And then they can click stop. Okay, so then it will also read them the questions and the answer choices in revising. Okay, this is good to look at. This is a 1-point revising SCR. So it says sentence 28 repeats information in the space provided, rewrite sentence 28 in a clear and effective way. So if they click on that, they can listen to the sentence and then they would need to type how to make it clear. Okay, and let's go on to the next part. So this is also revising. I like how it shows you where it is in the passage and it's bold. It's interesting. Best follow and support sentence 23. I love how this inserts it into the paragraph. This is wonderful. Love all the accommodations for revising. Okay, moving on. So now we are in editing. So editing, notice it does not read the passage, but that's okay because they should just be looking at sentence 2 and they're just looking for the mistake. So they're not necessarily needing to read the whole passage. They need to just read that sentence and see if they can figure out that farmer should not be capitalized. If they click on that, it actually shows them what the sentence would look like with the mistake. I love this. Again, it will not read them the editing part. So you might want to prep them ahead of time so they're not raising their hand saying, it's not reading to me. That way they know that it does not read the editing. I love this. Her father been a farmer. That doesn't make sense. This is great. I wish all kids had it like this. Okay, so this is all editing, has the drop down. Doesn't read it to them, but and same thing here. It doesn't read it to them, but it shows them the sentence. And then let's go to the next part. Okay, so it only goes to 40, it goes to 41. So these are editing questions as well. And then that's the end of the test. So that's pretty much follows the blueprint of what you could expect with the new question types and everything. I'm sure it's not the be all end all, but I think this would be a great thing to practice in small groups or even in whole group and go around and help the kids, especially the ones who have those accommodations. They're going to need to be trained on this. So I hope this video helped 3rd grade teachers. And I will put the links to how to get on this website for you to play around with it and for you to post. I'll probably post the link and have my kids just click on it from Google Classroom. I think that's going to be the easiest way. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video and I will put some more links in the description and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.